What's going on, guys? Raymond here. I'm back with another video. So in this video we are going to look at React state as well as events in React. Okay, so we are at the end. We are just going to create a very simple application. By now you guys should be able to start creating simple applications. You can just start an application even if you don't finish it, as long as you have learned something, and the next time you're going to learn something, you just be building up on what you already know. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to start with creating a simple app. So I'll just say late count, which is just a count app, which is equal to 0. So this is going to be our initial value. So I'm just going to create a function. So I'll just say const add, which is going to run that particular counter. So const add is just equal to that. Then within that, we are just going to increment that count with plus plus, which is just the same we do in JavaScript. Okay, so after that, I'll just come down here. I'm going to create a button which is going to just have add like that. Then here I'm going to run an event listener. Okay, so when you save, I've already run this app. We are just going to have that. Okay, now what is an event listener? So an event listener is just what we can do with response to the user actions. For instance, when the user comes to this website, what can we do? Maybe we can show them a certain page, or they can be on a black or red background. Then we can do whatever we want to do. Maybe when the user starts scrolling, we do something. When the user hovers on a button, we can maybe do something. So let's have an example. So in HTML and CSS, maybe you can have a button with a class name of btn, like that. Then within that, you are going to go to CSS and define just this button, and when you hover over that button, you want to change the color to red. So let's save that. So you see now when you hover over the button, we are going to see the background color is red. Okay, so this is more like an event listener. So we are reacting to the user's actions, in other words. So we can do this even in JavaScript or even in React, not just in CSS. Okay, so I'll just remove this. So here on the button, I'm going to include an event listener in such a way that when the user tries to click the button, we are going to run this count function. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just say on click. So when you just type on in React using Visual Studio Code, you just see all these event listeners popping up. You can try them and see how they work. Okay, so there I'll just say on click. So when the user click, we just want to run that particular function. So the next thing, you're just going to log our counter to the console. So just say count. Now when we save, we are not going to see anything when clicking the button, but when we open the console here, and we have seen that we have already clicked 3 times. Okay, so our app is working and we are able to click and it's able to show in the console. Now when we display this in the browser, what is going to happen? So let's just display that. Now we have seen that we have the initial value 0, but when we try to click, we still can't see the result in the browser. Okay, this being the reason that in React, when data is changing, the React will not know how to display this. So when it comes to changing data, we use what is known as state. So what is state? So state is an object that contains information about a component. State is any data that is going to change in a React component. So like this data here is going to change from 0 to something else when we try to click. So we can even do minus. It doesn't matter, it will just work the same. We can increment, we can multiply. Now you can see we have all negatives. So this data is changing. Okay, so since the data is changing, we need to use what is known as state. Not just numbers, it can be names, it can be any kind of data. So the way we use state in React, first of all, we just go up there and import React. So we just say import, then there we import our state, then we say from, then inverted commas like that, then we open strings like that, then we just put in React like that. Okay, so within here, this is where we are going to define our React variables. Don't worry about that, it's going to break for a moment. So there we are going to define our React hooks. So what are hooks in React? Hooks, they help us to have access to the state in React. So there are a lot of hooks and you'll be learning them as you go along. So one of the hooks is what is known as use state. Okay, so when we import that, it means we are able now to use the React state. Okay, so now to include that, we can now start using the state. So to define, the way we have defined this counter app using state is, we can just say where there is late, we can use const like we learned last time here, and where there is count, we can just open a square parentheses like that, then equals, which is this equals, then instead of just writing 0 there, we just say use state like that, then we open parentheses and the initial value we gave it 0. So this is equivalent to this. Okay, so here we can just put in that variable count, and now instead of running a function separately like this, we just put in a function like that, which is then we just say set count, camel case like that, which is small letter then followed by capital letter, which is set count. So what this function does is it's going to increment the value of this, which is 0. Okay, so it's going to take action on this initial value. That's how this works. Okay, so let me just comment this in case you guys need this for future reference. So this is how we import and use state. So now let's run this function again so that when we click on the button we are able to add this. Okay, so what we do, we just do the same again. We just say const add, it's just equal to just a function like that. Then within that, instead of saying counter plus plus or minus minus, you can just say set count, just like that. Then we are just going to get this value, which is 0, which is the count, then we increment it by 1. So when we save, and when now we start adding, now you see that the value is increasing. Okay, if we want, we can decrease it, we can multiply, whatever I want to do, it's up to us. Okay, so this will be now decreasing. Okay, so our counter app is now working using state, and this is much easier than including just writing vanilla JavaScript like that. Okay, so this is one way to write this function and just include it there. If you don't want to write this function here, you can just write it here, the whole of that function. Let me just comment this so that you guys can see. Okay, so here, instead of writing this function like that, we can just run that particular function. We just run an anonymous function like that. Then we just call the set count like that, and we just run it like that, which is count plus 1. Okay, so when you save, it's just going to run to work the same, as you can see. Okay, and you are going to see this syntax in some other videos, and this is just how it works. Okay, so we have created the same counter using vanilla JavaScript or just using React State hooks. Okay, hope that was understood. Now what I want to show you guys is, based on what we have learned and combined with this, let's just create a very simple application. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just come down here and I'll just change this to, let's say this is a hotel, and this will be a very simple application. We should not just be scared. Then within that, I'll just create here just a label, and I'll just remove this. So label here, I'll just say name. Then I'm just going to include an input field, then with a value of text. Now when we save, we are just going to see that. Okay, so the other thing that I'll do, I'll just remove this counter here, or I'll just comment it just like that, so we are not able to see that count again. Okay, and refresh. Now we have 0, and I'll just comment that state out. Okay, count is not defined, so just remove that again. Okay, so we just have hotel, a name, and just this field. Now what we want is, don't look at the end result of this application. Even if you just know one thing, at least there is progress in what we are learning. So what we want to do is, we want, when the user starts typing here, we just want to grab what the user is typing, that value. Okay, so to do that, you let's go there on top, and let's just define our state variables. So we want to grab the value that the user is typing, then set value like that. Then we can just say is equal to use state, and in this case we are not passing in a number 0 like that, we are just passing in a string like that. Okay, now where is the user typing? The user will be typing in this user input field. So what we want to do is, when the user starts typing, we want to run what is known as an onChange event listener. Okay, and within there, we are just going to run an anonymous function like that, and we just want to run this set value. Okay, so let's run that to just a set value, then run it like that. Now there's what is known as an event, so I'll just pass in an event like that. Then here I'll just grab that, so just say event dot target dot value. Okay, So this function here is just going to help us to grab what the user is typing. So when we save, and when the user starts typing, we are not going to see anything, but when we open the console, I've installed React Developer Tools, so I'll just click on this arrow. You can as well go ahead and download that and install React Developer Tools. So we're going to see we have components, and within that now you can see what we are typing, and we can also see the state. Okay, so whatever now that the user is typing, we are able to see it there, so we can get that. So for instance, we can even display it. So what the user is typing is just the value. So now you are going to see we have that value there, okay, as we are typing. Okay, so let me just save that. Now what we want to do is we want to add a button so that when we click here, we are able to grab that by the button. So what are we going to do with the information that the user is typing? So one, we can display it here, we can send it to the database, we can do pretty much anything that you want to do with the data that the user is typing there, as long as you have access to it. So let's go ahead and create a list and a button, so that when we click on the button, we are able to grab this and send this data to a small database, or just a fake database that we are going to create. So let's just create our state variables. So I'll just come here, then within there we are just going to define our state variables like that. I'll just call this as a list. Then now we know the naming conventions will just be set list. Then we are just going to say use state. Then that list, I'll just pass in an array like that. Now when you save and we go back to React Developer Tools and check, now we should be able to see our state value, which contains just an empty array like that. Okay, so now let's create a button so that when the user starts typing, we add what the user is typing to this list here. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just come down here and I'll just say button, and within that button just say add. And after doing that, I just want to run an event listener here, which is on click, and once the user clicks on that button, we just want to run an anonymous function like that. Then we just want to set the list like that. Then we are just going to open the array brackets like that. Then we are going to copy whatever is in the list, and we are just going to add what the value that the user is typing. Okay, so if you watch one of my videos, this syntax won't confuse you, and even if you don't understand this, but just go back to one of my videos and you're going to find this. So when you save, see nothing's going to happen, but again when we go to React Developer Tools, Components, now we are just going to see we have we just have an empty state like that. Now when we type anything there and we're able to grab it in this state, now when we click on the button, now we are able to add it to this list, and we can add more and more, and now we are able to add to that list. Okay, so Let's now, instead of just seeing that in the console, let's just look through and display that data. So to do that, just open parentheses like that, and this data is contained in this list, so just call that list, then a .map method. Then within that, you can just define that list. You can name that anything. Then we are just going to return that data. So I'll just say return, and within that we'll just display those. Let me just put them in a div, and within that we are just going to call that as a list. So just annotate that list like that. Then within that we can just display that list. When we save, you're not going to see anything, but when we now click here, and now we are able to see what we are after adding. We are able to see that in our list. Okay, now based on what we have learned, I just want to add some logic so that you guys can see the power of React. So we want that maybe this hotel wants maybe just to book 10 people, and when the list is full, even if we add, this won't work. It just say that we are fully booked, for example. Okay, how can we do that? Okay, so to do that, you can just use what is known as conditional rendering. We already learned about conditions and how they work in the previous videos, so let's try and implement one of the solutions. Okay, so I'll just come down here just below the input field. So on there I'll just create, maybe let me just create a small paragraph or just an H3 which just says remaining bookings. Okay, so this is just an hotel, for instance, which is being booked. Okay, so here we are just going to put in, let's just say another H2 maybe. Then within there I'm just going to call that list, then list dot length. Okay, like that. Now when you save, now you see remaining bookings, so the list is just 0. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just put this in a div, just define a div like that, then okay, and save. So we have remaining bookings. We see that we do not have any bookings, we have got 0. Okay, so we want, when we start adding here, for example, when we add the name, it's Raymond K, and we add, now we have 1, then we can add another one which is John Doe. John Doe is a very common guy, so when you add, you have 2, then we can add another one, maybe say Banda, and we add, we have 3, but these are not the remaining bookings. We just want this to be, maybe the hotel just wants 6 people. Okay, let's put those as 6. So now when we reach 6 people, we want, even if you add, nothing is going to happen. Okay, so here instead of just displaying list.length, you can say 6 minus list.length. Now when you save that, and now you see we are remaining with 6 people. Okay, so when we add, so we can just say Raymond K, and when we add, now you see we are remaining with 5, and when we add John Doe and we add, we are remaining with 4 people, and again when we add whatever names, let's say George, and we add, now we are remaining with 3, and say Elizabeth, I don't even know how to spell this. We add, we are remaining with 2 people, and let's say Kenneth. So we are remaining with 1 person, and David. When you add, we are remaining with 0. Then again, let's try to add Timothy. When we add, now you see you are remaining with -1. Okay, but we want, when we remain with 0, we do not want this to continue. We just want to end on 6. So how are we going to do that? Okay, so we are going to use some kind of logic. Okay, so here in the button, so we are just going to call that list.length, and in such a way that when we reach 6, we stop adding people. Okay, so here I'll just say list.length. So if the list.length is less than 6. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. So we put a question mark here. We want to run this particular function. Remember the way we learned how to use ternary operators. So we are going to run that, else I'll just put in empty parentheses like that. Okay, so when we add whatever numbers we're adding, we should have that. Let's go and check. So it's a list.length, it should be length like that. Okay, when we add, we are remaining with 5. Again, when we add, we are remaining with that. So now you see when we reach 0, there is nothing which is displaying. Okay, so let's just confirm that. So we have 6, so we can say Ray. Then when you add, then John, sorry John for writing small letters, then David, then we have Patrick, then again we have another David, then we have whatever name, 3. Then when we reach 0, and if we put another, you see now it's not displaying anything, but we can still display this conditionally in such a way that it just shows the user, because here the user doesn't know what is going on. Just shows the remaining bookings is 0, but we can display something here based on that condition. Okay, so to do that, we can run that condition again. So here we can just display that. So let's go ahead. So in here, instead of displaying nothing, we can just show the user that maybe let's say we are fully booked. Okay, and when we save, now we have those. Now it's still not displaying. Okay, so what we need to do is we can just come here and define that particular condition. Okay, so let's define that. So I'll just come here and say list dot length. If list dot length is less than 6, okay, what we want to show is we just want to show that we want to display that list. Okay, so let's just display that list. Then else, oops, I need a question mark. So we just want to display that list. Then else, you just want to tell the user that we are fully booked. When you save, now you see we are fully booked because the list here is 6. Okay, let me just put this. So the application is done, guys. You can stop here if you want. All I'm doing is just arranging stuff. So let me just display this on top of that. So I'll just put this in H3, then you can put that like that. So now you see we are fully booked. Remaining bookings, we have 0. Okay, but still this is not showing accordingly, because even here it's still showing we are fully booked, but we want to hide this. Okay, so let's check that. Okay, so I think here the spelling is not correct, so should be dot length. Then within here I'm just going to put in nothing like that. Okay, so now when you check, you can see that we have remaining books, which is bookings, which is 6. Now when we keep on adding, so it's Raymond, okay, registered for the event. We add, we are remaining with 5. Then also John Doe. Then when we add, remaining with 4. Then David, add, we are remaining with 3. Then Mutale, when we add, we are remaining with 2. Then last but not the least, the last 2, Timothy. So when you add, we are remaining with 1. And the last one is George B. George Banda. Now when you add, now we are going to see we are fully booked. Remaining bookings, it's 0. Okay, because the list is full. Okay, so you can do a lot with this, not just this. You can, the limit is endless. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video, and thank you so much for your support, and kindly subscribe for more videos, and just try to go through and also create this simple application. The more you do these small applications, the better you're going to become. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can encourage me to create more videos, and see you soon.